3 years ago, I just missed out on my dream job. I was working as a deputy editor for a magazine and I was offered the opportunity to apply for the role of editor, and I didn't get it. Instead, I lost out to a woman who was 20 years my junior, and then I was asked to act in the role for 3 months until she started. And then I was expected to go back to being her deputy. It was not an arrangement I was happy with. I felt humiliated and I felt I wasn't valued. Because every one of us needs to be valued and needs to be relevant, and clearly I was neither to this organisation. So as a consequence, I did what I'm sure you would all do, and I polished up my CV and I sent it out to everyone. I think I applied to about 50 jobs within 3 months, all as a writer and an editor and a marketer, which is my skill set. But this process was even more disheartening. During this time, the most consistent feedback I had was that I was overqualified. And apparently that I'm intimidating. So basically, I realised that these were code words for too old. I was 53. So I mentioned the struggle to my friends in my book club, and yes, I'm in a book club because I fit the stereotype. And they all knew what I was talking about. They all knew. And I didn't want to give up. I wanted to keep working, and I knew I wanted to have a healthy financial future. After all, I live in Newtown. I have a mortgage to pay. And I knew that I still had something left to offer, and I knew that I wanted to make a difference. Because it's not just a very positive picture for women in my age group. Women over 55 are the fastest growing group of homeless Australians. Between 2011 and 2016, this number grew by 31%. And it's likely that this trend will continue given the lack of affordable housing, the fact that we're all growing older, and also the fact that we don't have as much superannuation as our male counterparts. And this is often because we've got a more broken employment record, because of family responsibilities, and also the fact that we generally earn less. So my solution was, I decided to pack up what dignity I had left, and I left my job and started freelancing. And that's when I learnt to break it. I discovered that freelancing was the career option I was looking for. I love freelancing. I actually am happier. I actually earn 50% more as a freelancer than I did working in-house. Of course, this is media, but still. I have the best lifestyle. It's much more balanced. I get up early. I walk the dog. I have a Pilates class, and I get a coffee, and I've usually finished my first story by 11 a.m. Life is good. And I'm lucky though, because my peers are not always having the same problem. And some of my friends have been made redundant, and I can see the real fear in their eyes, and many of them face real poverty, particularly if they've not had the fortunate position that I have of having a mortgage and not having their own house, and they're facing the crippling rents of the inner city. The median superannuation balance for women between 55 and 64 is 117,000 compared to men, which is 183,000. And while I wasn't in danger of becoming one of those statistics, because I am relatively healthy financially and I have a supportive partner, I did want to keep working. Freelancing has become an active choice. It's what I needed. It's grown my confidence, it's grown my income, and it's made my life a whole different thing. I actually think that I've been working now and freelancing for more than 3 years, and often to those same organisations that said I was qualified. But now I hear that I'm knowledgeable, connected, and impressive. Impressive, intimidating, potato, potato. As a freelancer, nobody cares about my age, just my skills, which is actually a revelation. I have an exciting variety of work, and I deal with people of all ages and genders. It's good. Also, as a woman in my 50s, I have an amazing contact book. I have a great reputation, which I've built up over 30 years, and finding freelance work has been easy for me. All I have to do, if I have a quiet thing, is I send out a couple of emails, and I usually have a new project by the end of the week and often by the end of the day. And that reputation I've built up and working hard all those years has paid off. See, I always knew it would. Because I'm resilient, I'm tough, and I'm connected. And it's not just me. It seems for women, freelancing is the answer to the level playing field we've all been looking for. A survey by an online freelance website showed that there's only a marginal difference between what female freelancers earn and male freelancers. For every $100 that a woman earns, a male earns $100.04. And I know this is changing, like Me Too movement and all that, but this is the first job, as my own boss, where my boss hasn't made a pass at me. And I want to inspire all the women around me and the women coming after me to see how wonderful it is to become empowered and to learn about what it's like to work for yourself. I mentor and coach younger women as well as some of my peers, and I want to inspire. Because having control over your own work and your own workplace is way less stressful than the opposite. Another study showed that people in high-stress jobs with low control suffered more stress, died earlier, and were less healthy than other people in high-stress jobs but with control over their workforce. It's the control that makes you stressed. There is a misconception too that freelancing or contracting is actually less secure than a 9-to-5 job, but it's not. I've basically mitigated my risk across a whole wide group of clients and industries. All my friends are being made redundant, one at a time. In fact, I don't think I have a friend who hasn't been made redundant. And it's not just people in their 50s. Basically, many of my friends and colleagues have been made redundant. In fact, so now I see it as my mission. I have them over and I have them scones, because who doesn't love a scone? We have tea, we chat, I motivate them. In fact, in my friends, they're now called redundancy scones. If you've been made redundant in your 50s, it's really tough. A study in 2014 found that long-term, mature age unemployment is on the rise, and that job seekers over 55 spend 68 weeks looking for a job. 68 weeks. It's really tough out there. And I should point out that this applies to men as well as women. Ageism is not confined to one gender. I've actually found more stability in freelancing whenever one industry is having a bit of a tough time and others doing well. I pick up more work here and less work there. I don't make it redundant. I don't have to deal with office politics. I can work anywhere. I work in my favourite cafe, in my lounge room, and I even worked from a hotel in London when I went travelling in England with my mum recently. It's pretty good. And of course, people in media are running scared. When I go back into newsrooms, which I do occasionally, I do the odd contract or a project, each week, it's even more depressing. In fact, since I started writing this a few months ago, there have been 2 major media amalgamations and mass redundancies. Whenever I go into the newsrooms, they're so stressed. They're sitting there going, waiting for the axe to fall. I don't get that. I just don't get that. And I just find that it's so depressing out there, and having the control is such a powerful thing. I don't also need to be put up with being treated badly anymore. I know my worth and I'm not afraid to walk. I even have a Peter allowance, a pain in the arse allowance. So if somebody really annoys me, I charge them 30% more. And if they're really difficult, I just say no, because I've got options. And I wanted to share my story today of being an older woman, work in the workforce, as a positive thing, an empowering thing to inspire you, whether you're 30, whether you're 40. whether you're 50, whether you're 60. Women in their 20s often worry about what people think about them. Women in their 30s stop worrying. But once you're in your 50s, you realise nobody was actually thinking about you at all. And while young women hear about the wrinkles and the age and the health and all that sort of stuff, they don't hear how wonderful it is to be an older woman. No longer prisoners of our fertility or our family responsibilities. We can get shit done. I also wanted to leave you with a quote from one of my favourite shows, Fleabag, in which, written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, in which Kristen Scott Thomas, her idol and mine, talks about what it's like to be a woman facing menopause and getting older. She says, it's horrendous, and then it's magnificent. I choose magnificent.